Howdy and good morning. Welcome to this debate comparing and contrasting Cotesia congregates and Navis americoferus. The question here is which is more beneficial? My name is Victoria Cardenas, and I will be advocating for the Cotesia congregates, more commonly known as the Braconid Wasp.
And my name is Leah Voss, and I will be advocating for the Navis americoferus, otherwise known as the Damsel bug.
In the order Hymenoptera, the life cycle for the Braconid wasp begins with a female during a warm summer day. She will deposit her 200 eggs in the host insect. The Braconid larvae then begin to emerge and develop while in their host insect. The development of the larvae releases parasitoids that will cause death for its host either before or during the pupation of the larvae. Not only will the larvae release parasitoids when they are ready to pupate, they will do so in or on the host. What occurs is a chewing period to get out of its cocoon or out of its host. The final stage will ultimately kill the host if the parasitoids have not yet done so. Although no more than 1.2 centimeters in length, narrow waistline, antenna of great length with an ant-shaped head, the wasp is not a bright insect. It is black at first glance, but many of the species can have maroon or an orange abdomen. As an adult, the Braconid wasp will also feed on nectar just as bees do. Along with the nectar, they commonly feed on other insects such as caterpillars, flies, true bugs, and aphids. Humans see the Braconid wasp as an angel to their gardens and their crops. They usually help keep their works worth.
The Damsel bug has a large distribution, ranging from southern Canada all the way down to upper half of the United States. It is commonly found among vegetation, like grassy fields, alfalfa, and soybeans. It is a small insect, about half the length of an average paperclip. However, size is not correlated to importance. These predaceous insects are considered true bugs, falling under the order Hymenoptera. They are hemimetabolous insects, meaning they go through incomplete metamorphosis. The adults will take shelter in winter vegetation during the colder months, then will strategically place their eggs inside plant tissue. They can lay 200 eggs at a time. These eggs will hatch and go through 5 nymphal instars, molting in between each one. This will last for 50 days until they finally spring into an adult. The fully grown damsel bugs are the most prevalent from the middle of June to the middle of August, which lines up with the time that most pest species are at their peak. These insects are fully equipped to prey on these pests. They use their enlarged frontal limbs as hunting tools, and they possess a rostrum to pierce through the exoskeleton, then suck the fluid out of their victims. They kill many insects, like aphids, different kinds of small caterpillars, leafhoppers, lygus bug, and Colorado potato beetle nymphs, sawfly larvae, asparagus beetles, mites, and squash bug, moth, and Colorado potato beetle eggs that all cause devastating damage to crops used to feed communities. Damsel bugs are in pursuit of these insects starting as young nymphs, who have been shown as late instars to feed on 2 or 3 immature lygus bugs a day. This is quite remarkable, considering they are close to the same size. Pesticides are often used against these ravaging beasts, but these chemicals also kill the helpful damsel bug. Although this could be rationalized by some people that killing them along with the pesky insects somehow balances the ecosystem, this balancing act is already done by the birds. Damsel bugs are a tasty treat for these animals, keeping everything in check. There is nothing unbeneficial about these insects except that they prey and feed on some plants in very small amounts as a diet supplement, but the damage is very minimal. They also have been noted to defensively bite humans if highly provoked.
The Braconid wasp has the best existence of insects that could be possible. This is only really because of the existence of the cocoon hornworm caterpillars. Gardeners absolutely hate cocoon hornworm caterpillars. I've already stated how these caterpillars destroy gardens by devouring crops at an extremely fast rate. This can occur as fast as overnight. It is a garden that people depend on to eat and or sell as their means of income, so it's vital to protect it. If we could wish an insect that presence is an organic way of having a pesticide, it would be the Braconid wasp. They are a parasitoid, which means that they eventually kill their host. The host in most scenarios is the cocoon hornworm caterpillars. Everyone knows it helps to start the beginning of a problem to solve it, and that is exactly where the Braconid wasp begins in a much more thought-out manner than the damsel bug approach. They disrupt and or halt their host insect development in their life cycle without disrupting anything else in the ecosystem. The damsel bug has a small negative impact, and that is more than that of a braconid wasp, which is none. All the braconid wasps need to survive is 1, their host, the hornworm caterpillar, 2, flower nectar, and 3, pollen. These are the energy sources, and it's the most minimal insect requirement for life that there could be. In no way does it inconvenience humans, unlike the possibility that damsel bugs have.
To say that the braconid wasps are not harmful at all is actually not accurate. While their parasitoid abilities is beneficial in many ways, they also use them to parasitize the monarch butterfly caterpillars, who grow into beneficial pollinators who are also loved by the gardener. This act decreases the number of pollinators in the area and further decreases the number of monarch butterflies who actually make it to adulthood. Although the braconid wasp could also be considered a pollinator to replace the wasp monarchs for its liking of nectar, this habit decreases the number of harmful insects it could be parasitizing. The damsel bug has no such competition and dedicates its palate to feasting upon the unwanted pests. Additionally, unlike the wasp, the damsel bug does not go through complete metamorphosis and can start preying on insects starting as a young nymph, thus doing more for the plants on which they reside over a longer course of time. Aphids, one of the most destructive insects to crops, are targeted by damsel bugs. Aphids suck sap from plants and have chemicals in their saliva that can cause sensitive plants to become deformed. They also vector diseases to plants through their saliva, killing them. This cycle can only be stopped by killing the aphids, which will continue spreading havoc if they are not prevented from doing so. It is difficult to stop them because they reproduce like mad, producing hundreds of thousands of offspring within a few weeks and invading a fresh plant.
There's a virus that is secreted when the braconid wasp disabled any and all defenses that their host insect may have. The virus has been co-evolved with polynaviruses. This gets carried through into the insect with their eggs. It is stored in cells in the ovary and has 0 negative effects for the wasp. There is an activation that occurs when it is injected into the host insect. Upon arrival, it can be expected that this virus will work nonstop to disable the defense of their host against intruders. In this case, it's the egg that are the intruders, while the virus has not yet been recognized. Without the help of an underlying attack, the eggs would be eliminated when contacted with the host insect's immune response. The virus allows for its larvae development and survival, which includes hatching and feeding within the host insect. Their existence is benefited not only for our gardeners and gardens, but also for the ecosystem. Although, as my opponent stated, the braconid wasp parasitizes monarch butterflies that are also just as loved by our gardeners, there is a greater good that comes from the demise of one insect for the thrive of an individual's food and or source of income. Fortunately, Earth has another insect that is in abundance and is a pollinator, bees. Bees are common and replace the loss of the monarch butterfly that can get targeted as a braconid wasp host. Braconid wasps can thrive without humans ever having contact with them, mostly because the braconid wasp has no interest in stinging/attacking a human. Just as we are not the preferred prey for sand sharks, we are not the preferred prey for the braconid wasp.
Even though the wasp uses a complex mechanism to disable and kill its enemies, the damsel bug's simpler grasping, stabbing, and sucking technique is just as effective. They even get a full meal out of it. Because of the damsel bug's highly predatory behavior, they actually reduce the amount of insecticides needed to be used in gardens and crop fields. Insecticides can be harmful for people's health if field workers are exposed and they leave residues on crops. Not only do they kill off the unwanted insects, but also the beneficial ones that would aid in destroying the pests in the first place. This throws off the entire ecosystem and could potentially allow pesky insects to become resistant to the used pesticides to flourish, creating a bigger problem than the one in the beginning. The more natural the pesticide, the better. Unfortunately, the damsel bugs can't be purchased through a supplier to add to your own garden, but they are naturally prevalent in high numbers in certain crop fields, like the alfalfa fields in Utah. Farmers can choose to purchase land and plant their crops in the upper half of the United States or in southern Canada, to reap the benefits of these creatures.
There are misconceptions about the Braconid wasp. It is believed by some that the white objects on the hornworm are in fact eggs that are parasitic. These objects are not parasitic eggs. They are in the pupal stage, which involves a cocoon for each egg. If an individual's timing is right, they could witness the hatching of one of these eggs of an adult Braconid wasp, flying off and seeking a new mate. The females then wander in search of a hornworm host to inject its virus and eggs into. There are thousands of kinds of this species all over the world that cause death to its host after interacting with it. Braconid wasps will kill aphids and different Braconidae, such as beetles, flies, moths, and butterflies. Since the entire existence of the Braconid wasp is to help our gardens and not even notice us, they should only be viewed as helpful and beneficial to only their lives, but also ours. That is an example of a healthy life cycle within an ecosystem.
The damsel bug is a highly beneficial predatory insect that preys on undesirable insects in the garden and helps keep the ecosystem in which it resides balanced. From the time it emerges from the egg and becomes a nymph to its last days, it is the farmer's helper. Without it, aphids and other harmful creatures would overrun gardens and fields, destroying many communities' sources of food. This insect has a good reputation, but more research should be conducted on whether or not it would be helpful to sell them commercially to serve as a natural pest control. Because of their role as a defender of plants, it is important to further research their roles within the ecosystem so we can better understand the preferred habitats so that crops can be planted in these areas. These areas would need less pesticides, and the fewer chemicals used on crops that people consume, the better for our health and the health of those cultivating the crops. There has been research conducted concerning the harm of its painful bite to people, which scientists have concluded to not be harmful to humans. People do not need to fear these creatures, but appreciate their helpfulness from a distance. Thank you. Please refer to our references in the description.